Very much, Acting Speaker, and I rise to speak on the Economy and Infrastructure Committee's inquiry into the impact of road safety behaviours on vulnerable road users. And I acknowledge you were the chair of the committee, Acting Speaker, and to the other members in the chamber who served alongside me on the committee over the past 12 months. The inquiry specifically focused on vulnerable road users, and those are the people who are least protected and at risk on the road, such as pedestrians, cyclists and motorcyclists. And in 2023, they made up nearly up to 36% of all lives lost on Victorian roads, and in 2022, they made up almost half. Now, of course, there are other vulnerable road users, such as older people, children and people with a disability, but specifically pedestrians, cyclists and motorcyclists are those that we see losing their lives on roads all too often. And the committee was asked to examine how the COVID-19 pandemic affected the behaviour of road users and the impact of this on particularly vulnerable road users. Unsurprisingly, there were fewer vehicles on the road during the pandemic lockdowns, and road fatalities did fall in 2020 and 2021. However, they did not fall as much as expected when compared to the drop in kilometres actually travelled. And we saw, for example, in Victoria, fuel sales fall by 26% in 2020, but fatalities only fell by 12%. And after restrictions lifted, we did see the number of lives lost on Victorian roads rise in 2022 and 2023. So what the report found and what the inquiry found, while that there is a lack of published supportive data, anecdotal evidence does suggest that Victorian drivers' behaviour worsened during and after the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of increased aggression, impatience, risk-taking, inattention and rule-breaking. And we make a number of recommendations in this report, but we did identify 6 of the highest priority. And these include, Acting Speaker, developing a road user hierarchy, creating vulnerable road users advisory group to contribute to the development of road safety interventions, reviewing the flexibility of speed zoning guidelines, reviewing the location of pedestrian crossings on arterial roads to ensure there are regular crossings, and prioritising road treatments in regional areas, in particular looking at regional road safety.
Patching roads up.
And if I talk to a specific number of findings, in particular finding 15 in the report, Acting Speaker, restrictions in Victoria's speed zoning technical guidelines limit the designation of 40 km/h speed limit zones in certain areas, as well as timing of school speed zones, resulting in higher speed limits that place vulnerable road users at risk. Now, what we heard, Acting Speaker, was that there are technical guidelines, particularly those enforced by Vic roads, that require a limited amount of designated road space to put in place 40 km/h zones. Now, it's a minimum of 400 metres. This is an issue that has played out in my own electorate of Kew, where the North Balwyn village has been fighting for years to reduce the 60 km speed limit through that shopping strip to a 40 km speed limit. But time and time again, those local traders, those shoppers, the primary school around the corner, the parishioners at the Greek Orthodox Church have been rejected from reducing that speed limit because it does not meet the bureaucratic guidelines of Vic Road and, excuse the pun, they hitting roadblock after roadblock. Now, we should be doing everything we can to support our hard-working local traders and small businesses and helping increase safety there and foot traffic at that shopping strip. And just 2 weeks ago in this place, I tabled a petition signed by more than 440 local residents calling on the Allen government to reduce that speed limit. And I thank the Minister for Roads for her engagement on this issue, and I've provided her with letters of support from 21 local traders along the strip, Burundara Council, St Bede's Primary School, and of course the local area commander, Inspector Sandy McIver, on behalf of Victoria Police, all calling for the reduction in that speed limit. And I call on the Minister to once again overcome the technical and bureaucratic roadblocks at Vic roads, including that 400 metre minimum arbitrary requirement for a 40 km zone, and instead put safety first, support our small businesses and reduce the speed limit. And Acting Speaker, with the time remaining, can I just also call out recommendations around the importance of increasing pedestrian crossings right across Victoria, but particularly in certain locations in the electorate of Kew, and greater accessibility for public transport through accessible tram stops, another key recommendation from this inquiry.
The member for